So finally the cucumbers have started forming fruits and they are past the flowering stage, and I'm glad that from this small space we have been able to observe several fruits coming up on the cucumber. I'll move closer so that you see the yellow flowers there very clearly. Yeah, you have the yellow flowers there, quite a number of them all over on this small space where I planted cucumbers. So remember, with the fruit crops, every flower you see is a potential fruit in case nothing disturbs it, and it gets pollinated by the insects like bees or butterflies. Each flower you see is a potential fruit, so you can estimate how much of cucumbers we'll get from this space. Of course, I'm going to move in closer and zoom to see how many cucumbers we have so far forming there. As you may be seeing from far already, you can see some cucumbers there, especially towards the bottom of the plants. So it's now time to zoom in and see the cucumbers. Right, you can see all those cucumbers from this small space. Some are not yet fully formed, but they are developing well. And as I told you last time in a previous video, you don't have to be buying cucumbers all the time from the market. You can actually grow some in your backyard, and this space is very small. In fact, you don't have to allocate so much of space for growing cucumbers. A very small space like this one, you have plenty of cucumbers for your consumption, some of which you can share with your neighbors or even sell to the market. Plenty of cucumbers there, so many of them. You can see this. Plenty of cucumbers everywhere on each plant. At least we're having some cucumber. So in this small space, your supply of cucumber will be adequate. Of course, plenty of them there, you can see. Even on this plant here, you can see the cucumbers. They're growing well, and this means that you don't have to be buying the cucumbers from the market all the time. So from this small amount of space, you can see we have an adequate supply of this, our favorite fruit, cucumbers. And this space is approximately 5 feet or thereabout by about around 8 to 10 feet, and from that small space you can imagine, and you can see how much of cucumbers we are having. So those ones which are already forming fruit, or the fruits which have already formed, that number is exclusive of all these yellow things you're seeing here. These are flowers, and as I told you earlier, these flowers, each of them is a potential fruit once it reaches the stage of forming the fruit. So you can see there. And these PPR pipes here, of course, they are meant to strengthen these other supports which are forming the structure around which we have supported the cucumber plants. Why do we use PPR pipes there? PPR pipes are strong enough to give additional base support to the wooden stands or wooden sticks on which we are supporting the cucumbers. So you can get a half-inch PPR pipe or any bigger size. You could even use a 3/4 inch PPR pipe, but 1/2 inch is always okay, and it's enough usually. And that will ensure that you have supported your wooden sticks very well, so that forms the framework on which you now support the cucumbers using wires. As you can see, there are several wires running around within this area, right? So these wires are the supports onto which the cucumbers have been enabled to thrive and grow upwards. Remember, cucumbers have their own tendrils, and those tendrils, they will be clinging onto the wire and helping to support the cucumbers, such that the cucumber doesn't fall to the ground, as it may happen if you don't support them through their tendrils. So several wires running around within the structure, each wire meant to enable you support your cucumbers as they grow within your garden there. So depending on the size of the garden which you prefer, you can have even more cucumbers, but in this case a small backyard garden can give an adequate supply all year round, depending on your preference of how much cucumbers you prefer to have in any given point in time. So we have several fruits there, and these fruits, they are not the final ones. Remember, they will be again augmented by, sorry, that number will be augmented by again those yellow things you're seeing there, which are the flowers, which will then form the fruits as time goes by. So these insects you're seeing here, these are ladybirds, and these ladybirds, of course, occasionally they will go and land on the flowers and help actually to pollinate those flowers. And of course, sometimes we have other insects which come and feed on the leaves, but you can always take care of that by spraying using an organic insecticide. Those are still ladybirds and some other insects which are helping to pollinate the flowers of the cucumbers. So in that way, you can see some bees here. You can see some bees there. Yes, it's helping to pollinate that flower. And each pollinated flower, of course, will be a potential fruit, as I told you earlier. And that will help to ensure that you have a plenty of supply of cucumbers all year round, depending on the initial number of plants which you started with. So you can see there, the bee is actually helping to pollinate the flower. At any given time, you'll find several bees entering the flowers to just pollinate them and leave. No crime in having the bees on your plants. These are very useful bees. They help to pollinate the flowers so that we have cucumbers forming from all these flowers that you're seeing in this garden. So I'll zoom back a bit to help you see clearly the small size of the garden on which we are actually planting those cucumbers. Around 8 feet there, maximum 10 feet, and on the side just about 4 to 5 feet, around 4 to 5 feet. That's adequate to give you a plentiful supply of cucumbers all year round, just from a small space within the backyard of your house.